けど久しぶりにバイブス上げてこう嬉しそうできる追加
What's good, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And we're back with a fairly late Halloween special. It's Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, the Shibuya Incident arc, and if you want to keep up to date with the podcast and everything that we do, then go ahead and like the video, head on down to the comments, let us know what you think, and subscribe so you do not miss an episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. Subscribe to Crunchy, all that stuff, all our links down below. Now, grab a drink, kick back, listen up, because this may take a while.
You know, you say this is a Halloween special. I'm gonna pull back the curtains a bit, let you see inside. Yeah, we retroactively decided that because the arc takes place on Halloween. So hey,
yeah,
you
the
know,
schedule,
it's convenient.
The podcast schedule was gonna make us miss doing an actual Halloween special. I'm still holding out for the time where I can make you watch Perfect Blue and Clockwork Orange expose you to Peak.
Yeah, that's gonna take a while. Wait, give it a few years at least.
Few years? You're that much of a pussy?
Yes, I am that much of a pussy. Listen,
Oh,
it's probably peak, but it's probably not my kind of peak.
Well, I guess that'll be a story for another day, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Yeah,
really
we're
think
back with
Jujutsu Kaisen fans are watching Perfect Blue? Like 2%
Yeah,
of them,
if they
maybe.
had good taste, maybe. Well, obviously they don't because they watched Jujutsu Kaisen. Heyo!
No, wait, they're all clicking off. No, go back. We actually like this show too. We're roasting
No,
ourselves.
This part's good. This part's good. Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, the Shibuya Incident arc. We were big on the Gojo's past arc. Did we agree that it was the best Jujutsu Kaisen has been so far?
I think you were more positive on it than I was, but I'd say, when I saw it at the time, I thought that the season was definitely shaping up to be the best of the show so far, although I think the latter half of season 1 does give it some relatively stiff competition, I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely a toss-up between the latter half of season 1 and the Gojo past arc. But this one is making a claim for itself too as some of the best of the series.
Yeah, it hit some really high highs here, and I definitely, as I was going through the episode, you know, the more episodes went on, the more I found myself captured by what was happening on screen. It was definitely an exciting experience in that regard. I'm still not sure where this stretch of episodes would lay in the ranking, but I guess, you know, give us some time, some thoughts. You know, I kind of just finished it less than an hour ago, so it's still fresh in my mind. You know, maybe looking back after some time, I'll be able to more accurately rank every bit of the show.
I think the most unique thing I can say about Jujutsu Kaisen is that I don't know what the status quo for this, I guess this can apply to the manga too, because of pacing. It's hard to establish what the status quo is for, you know, the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, because there's, like, a lot happening, and I thought, like, a lot sooner than I thought we were gonna go. Like, we're only, like, 2/3 through season 2, and, the main goal as of right now, when the show started, was to get 20 of Sukuna's fingers inside Yuji Itadori. Motherfuckers got 15 2/3 into season 2. We're 75% done with the main quest.
See, I always knew that, yeah, you know, it was established early on that they had a fair few fingers. But you look at the beginning of the show and you're like, oh, it's going to be sort of like a MacGuffin thing, where, you know, along the way, over the course of these shonen epic battles, we're just going to collect fingers. And maybe that was the author's intention at first. But now he just gets 10 all at once. This specific block of episodes is one for extremely bizarre plot twists and that are extremely difficult to see coming. I know neither of us saw Geto's true identity coming, but I'm sure we'll get to that in time.
No, I definitely did not expect it, and the end result I'm feeling a little mixed about. I can't say it came out of nowhere, unlike another thing that we'll talk about, but yeah, well, I guess we'll get to it when we get to it. But right now, we gotta talk about the beginning, and finally, the show does a good. Oh, well, yeah, actually, you know what? I was gonna label this part "Gojo takes an L" for the first time, but then I remembered Gojo's past arc literally just happened, so he takes a second L in history.
Well, to be fair, Gojo did eventually un-L the L in his past. Perhaps this is one L that he will never be able to stamp from his record. You know, who
There's
knows?
literally no fucking shot. Gojo's gonna be trapped for the rest of time.
It's gonna be 100. It's gonna be 1,000 years before he un-Ls this L, and by that point, everyone's already died due to old age.
Impossible. It's gonna be 1,000 minutes before he breaks out.
Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe they bust him out. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I think he's gone for good.
Trapped. You're shitting me, right?
Okay, I hope he's trapped for good. That's what I'm gonna say.
Wait, okay,
because it makes such an interesting. Let me make sure I got this
right. Let me make sure I got this right. By trapped for good, do you mean the remainder of this arc or the remainder of Jujutsu Kaisen?
I mean, they'll have to bring him back eventually. I hope he's stuck there a lot longer than the characters expect him to be, though. I mean, bringing him back at some point seems like too good of a Chekhov's gun not to fire at some point. But
I think he's.
I hope he's gone.
The main goal of this arc now is to free him.
But see, the reason. What I'm thinking in my head as a if I were writing this at the very least, I'd think maximum chaos. They are boned without Gojo. So make them boned. Make them just have to cope and seethe with the nightmare that has been wrought upon them.
I mean, given the events that transpire in this block of episodes, they are definitely coping, seething, and molding. Some of them handling it better than others.
It just seems like such a good narrative decision to make, and I really hope it takes that. I do have some one bit of future knowledge of the manga, because I will say I knew he got sealed. Granted, they were building it up for a while, but even before going into our season 1 rewatch, I knew at some point they sealed him away, and I have another bit of knowledge that I'm trying to piece together within the context of the narrative, which is partially influencing what I'm saying here. It might be less of a big deal than I thought looking at the piece of information I was made privy to. So who knows? I'm not entirely sure. All I'm saying is I hope he's gone for way longer than the characters think.
Well, I guess we'll see. I really think he's just gonna get out by the end of the arc.
I think that's the kind of lame way to do it. The expected way. It's like, yeah, well, no, I don't want to return.
Character, so it's only fair to expect the lamest outcome for the lamest character.
Well, see, the way I always saw Gojo was, even from the very beginning, oh, he's powerful because he's not gonna be there at a certain point. That's the good way to handle the character, in my opinion. And I've always thought that in the back of my head. And now they're doing that, and I'm thinking, okay, keep him gone. That's the good part of Gojo. I know that's kind of an insult to his character, but really, when you have a character that overpowered, what makes the show interesting is when you flip the status quo upside down and make it so he doesn't return. So it's hard to imagine a satisfying resolution to this arc where he just comes back immediately as soon as anticipated. Like, that's the perspective I'm coming at this from. If he does literally come back as soon as you think he will, I think that's kinda lame, honestly.
I guess we'll just wait and see. Well, I guess we should talk about how we got to this position in the first place. So there's a big incident going on in Shibuya. One might even call it a Shibuya Incident. the big bad gang led by Gato they're up to mischief on mischief night on Halloween. They've laid down like a whole series of veils. It's Veilception, trapping a number of people in with all these different rules. Like people can't get past this one. Satoru Gojo can't get out of this one. Sorcerers cannot move around in this barrier. And their goal is to trap Gojo into this prison realm. But how are they gonna do that when he's like so OP, bro? Their plan is to put him in a position where he has to put human lives in danger, endanger innocent civilians, and then just rush him down, distract him, tire him out. All these different tricks, kind of similar to what they did, or at least what Toji did to him back in the past arc. So they get all these civilians around in this train, this bullet train, and they throw him all kinds of bullshit at him, trying to mess around with Limitless. He ends up killing Hanami, so that villain's just gone, I guess.
Rip and kill Hanami. You did not much, but I mean, hey, you got a cool fight in the latter half of season 1, so that's pretty cool. You at least got your moment to shine there.
Yeah, so now Hanami's gone, and Joe goes like, "Oh shit, we might be fucked." However, Mahito throws a whole bunch of transfigured humans at him by the train full, and then they're like, "Okay, the only way Gojo is able to take all of us at once without, causing any more of us to kill them, is to use his domain expansion." And I forget, does he have the limit that, like, because they say most Jujutsu sorcerers can only use their domain expansions once a day. Does Gojo have that limit?
No, he does not. It's actually brought up again later on in the arc where they're like, the fucking Red Cthulhu dude. There's no way he can put his domain expansion out twice in a day. Only Gojo can. Only Gojo has that much super duper pooper scooper power.
Okay, I'm a little sad now. I'm glad I've given you the brainworm of super duper pooper scooper.
Did you give me that brainworm?
Who else have you heard it from? Ever use it besides me?
I mean, I've always had the phrase pooper scooper in my head since I was like 7 years old. I thought it was just combining super duper and pooper scooper.
Yeah, exactly. How often have you been using that before I started saying it around you on the podcast?
You do raise a good point.
Hey, it's okay. I'm gonna start using the word ubiquitously a lot more because you can't go a rant or a discussion without saying.
Listen,
it.
ubiquitous and ostensibly, they're two very useful words, which is why I use them in every video.
Yeah, so I guess their plan was to, like, he's gonna be at his most vulnerable after using domain expansion, I guess. But now they're like, yeah, you can't use domain expansion. There's so many people here. You're gonna turn them all into vegetables, Gojo. What are you gonna do? And he's like, yeah, fuck it, domain expansion. And then he spreads his infinite void across everyone in the room. However, he has because he's Gojo, of course he does. Of course he has this ability. He activates it for only a fifth of a second. And in that fifth of a second, he Sonic the Hedgehogs around the entire room, doing the little the Devilman Crybaby run, if you remember what that's like. And just goes around ripping off the heads of all of the transfigured humans and killing them all. And because this is the only amount of time that humans can be exposed to the Infinite Void domain expansion without just becoming brain dead.
Okay, so you say he does that in a fifth of the second. At first, when I read the monologue, I thought that was what had happened, but at the end, the narrator says, and it took 299 seconds to get all the dudes, and I was like, wait, that's significantly longer than 1/5 of a second.
I remember that too, and now that I'm thinking about it,
what I think happened,
he activated it for only
he activated it for that long,
then deactivated, and then because they say something like he only put half a year's worth of information all at once into everyone. So he's like, all right, they're just gonna be unconscious for a couple months. So now I'll just flash around the room and rip everyone's heads off.
See, on the one hand, I'm glad that Gojo doesn't canonically have that level of speed that he can kill 1,000 of these things in literally a fifth of a second. But on the other hand, the idea that he could was really, really funny. I won't lie. It was extremely
with
funny.
how fast he was moving. I would not have blinked at the like. It would have been like in One Punch Man where Saitama pulls off an incredibly amazing feat just like out of nowhere, out of his ass, and he's just like, "Yep, that's what he does." Like, I would not have been surprised in the slightest if Gojo upped his body count by 1,000 in literally 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to wonder where all that speed was anytime else. But he is exhausted by the end. So I guess that would, in fact, be the explanation.
I will say, like, props to the directing of the, what would this be, episode 9 of this block, where opening the episode with clips of everyone singing Gojo's praises as the strongest, and then immediately following it up with Gojo catching his breath for the first time, at least. I don't know if I don't quite remember if he was catching his breath in the past arc. Maybe he was, but like the first time we've seen adult Gojo have to do something like that. So that's a good mood setter.
Yeah, it sort of primes you for what is to come, because after Gojo is in this exhausted state, he's staying still, and it was previously established, right? What needs to happen for the prison realm to activate. So they're trying to seal him into the prison realm. He needs to stay in the same place within a very small range, right? For about a minute. They specify the range, I forget exactly what it is. And I think it's like a few meters or something like that. But, you know, Jogo is flipping out on him while they're playing some board game that I don't actually know what it's called.
It was Mahjong, and I'll never get tired of seeing these villains literally just dicking around and playing all these stupid games. The Gato's blowing bubbles at a playground while Mahito's playing with children who I presume just can't see him.
It's very... You know, I know they're curses, but it's oddly humanizing for them. It makes them feel like they have a broader emotional spectrum than maybe they let on when they're just a scheming about, I don't know, killing as many people as possible.
Jogo does say that curses are the true humans, and they should be the ones ruling over the world and not humans. So.
Actually, this is a tangent, but Jogo had this one line, what you're describing, where he says... You know, all I want is for curses to be treated as humans. And obviously in this context, like in the context of the show, it's like, oh yeah, we want to get rid of the humans so that we can be the new humans. But I wonder, maybe there's a part of Jogo that's willing to compromise so long as he is granted rights. I wonder about that. Or maybe another curse like Jogo who is less extreme.
Yeah, probably another curse like Jogo.
Listen, there's
Jogo
no way
takes
that the
too
show
much
is...
happiness and enjoyment in casual murder for him to be redeemed at this point.
Yeah, like, zero shot the show goes in that direction with Jogo, because they've just gone too far in making him, you know, plainly a villain. But those lines do make me wonder, hey, like, there's a very gray... moral conflict here that is covered up by the fact that the curses we've seen so far are just evil. And maybe, you know, if we find one, like, okay, the half human, half curse, obviously he's working with them and is set on revenge, but he still has humanity in him. Maybe if there was a different half human, half curse that wasn't so set on revenge and, you know, didn't let the curse win, you know, I wonder, would they be able to just fit in with society? Would they be able to follow ethics and laws? It does get the noggin jogging. I do get the sneaking spidey sense, though, that it's probably not gonna amount to much in the grand scheme of things.
I feel like if they wanted to pursue that, they would have done so with Mahito and Junpei from last season, because Mahito is like, yeah, he was a recently born curse, right?
Yeah, he's very young at the time. Yeah, he's still getting used to his powers in that arc.
Yeah, so I feel like they do play around with his you know, maybe not necessarily morality, but like his willingness to, dick around with humans, whereas Jogo like will only tolerate being around them so much before he'll just literally light them all on fire, whereas Mahito, he can, he hung around Junpei for so long,
He
even
plays
though
with
it
kids
was all
in the
like,
park.
yeah, I mean, he probably killed them all afterward, but at least he at least he played
Hey,
with
listen,
them a little.
off screen, out of mind, okay?
Out of screen, out of mind. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it was going
it's
in this
only murder
direction,
if they find the bodies.
yeah, obviously, what I'm saying here, I feel like with any media literacy, you can tell that, hey, they're all just evil so far. That's not gonna be where the show goes. But I like just thinking about that and speculating about that.
But are they all evil? Because we see Chozo, who had every intention of killing Yuji, about to kill him, and yet for some reason he gets this weird flash of seeing him
He gets
with
gaslit.
Yuji and his brothers in a vision that he says doesn't exist. That, well, the stupid ass narrator tells us that doesn't exist, but we'll go down that tangent in a little bit. Yeah, he gets a memory of his family, and for some reason Yuji is a part of that family, and they're all gathered around the table eating a good old spaghetti dinner, and I'm over here sitting like, what the actual fuck am I looking at?
That scene was fucking weird. Like, they're all having spaghetti together. They're like feeding it to each other, which is fucking hilarious. It's almost as if Chozo is imagining human society, but having lived as half a curse for what little time he's been alive, doesn't really know how they function, and so they're all just feeding each other spaghetti.
I just imagined it as they're just having a family dinner, and for some reason Yuji's there, which I don't understand. If I were to wager a guess, and I don't like that. I think this is going to be the answer.
I mean, I feel like we agree on the answer.
Did that they're somehow related?
Oh, no, that wasn't my answer. My answer was that it was someone's powers. Like telekinetically or telepathically rather, putting it into his mind and making him change his alliance. Because
I kind of thought that too, but then I was like, I feel like whoever did that would have immediately saved Yuji and not let him eat any more fingers.
Hey, maybe also, he's like lurking in the background.
Yeah, but also, who would do that?
Well, see, that's my question.
Because like we don't know anyone who has memory altering powers. At least not anyone that's already been established. If they invented a character to do that, I feel like that would be a little lazy.
Well, yeah, that'd be a bit frustrating. I mean, it could also be that he just had the image that maybe he suddenly sprouted.
Maybe he suddenly
ethics.
Gained he maybe suddenly developed ethics in that one moment. Yeah, how convenient that he was gonna do it just before he killed the main character.
Yeah, well, see, the reason why I said it was telepathic, or that it felt like that at least, is because if you were to execute a scene like that where he looks at it and goes, oh, wait, actually, he's human too, and I'm human, and maybe there's extenuating circumstances, yada yada, you'd have to, like, establish that much earlier on so that you actually know what the fuck the visuals mean in that scene. But instead, it just sort of suddenly happens, and so it doesn't feel like a change of heart on his end.
Yeah, and also, like, in the moment, I was incredibly confused. Like, literally, why are you not killing him? I thought he was getting mentally attacked by someone, but then they they never come out to do anything to Yuji, so that can't possibly be the case. So I'm just worried that they're gonna throw in some kind of bullshit, like maybe he's not necessarily related to Yuji, but maybe he's related to Sukuna because Sukuna's a curse, and he's he's one of those death painting curse womb babies, and maybe they were like the blood of Sukuna. or like related to Sukuna by blood. So, and that because he's in Yuji's body, maybe he views Yuji as, the same brother kind of thing. I hope
Well,
that's not the
see,
case.
he knew. Well, see, Choso knew that Sukuna was in Yuji's body, and so my question would be, how does he
Maybe he didn't know
suddenly
Sukuna was
figure
like their
out?
blood.
Maybe he saw the blood and was like, "Ah, hey, that's my blood, bro. I know my blood when I see it." I don't
I
know.
guess that would
That
make
would
sense
be
because he does have the
cringe.
blood powers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still not really sure what's going on there. It could be a myriad of, well, maybe not a myriad of, but
I
there's
don't know.
probably a way to
My
turn it around and make it good. And I think the
my
moment
alarm bells are
itself,
ringing.
I think the moment itself is really good. The utter confusion of it,
Oh yeah,
but
it's presented and directed incredibly, especially
yeah,
the whole thing with the aspect ratio fading in and out of
that I
the
thought
shot.
was so cool because
Yeah, that
we've
was so
seen
like
aspect
wildly
ratios
creative.
used in creative ways, like last season with Zom 100, but I've never seen the bars of the square
Someone
aspect ratio.
turning on and off the cross dissolve tool
Yeah,
in Premiere.
like sure you can explain it like that, but the effect itself when you actually watch it is super super cool.
Well, yeah, I'm memeing to oversimplify, but it's also coupled with great animation of the guy like running his hands through his head manically, sweating a bunch. I think the camera was like spinning as it was a low angle shot of him, hunched over, clutching his head while his whole reality was spinning. Like it's
Yeah, I mean,
very intentionally disorienting in a good way.
yeah, and so I feel like there's a way you could clutch it out to make that good, but there are also ways that you could not clutch it out and make it not good.
Yeah, well, anyway, back to the GOJO
Back
thing, just
to
to put a
the topic,
put
yeah.
to put a bow on it real quick, because we pretty much said the gist of it. He does the whole Sonic the Hedgehog thing, and then Gato comes out, and he's like, "Hey, yo, Gojo, remember me?" Gojo's like, "Oh shit, Gato, but I killed you, bro," at the end of the movie that we surprisingly call back to fairly, like, not much of, despite it having a big impact on the events of this arc.
However, something is amiss. You could even say an imposter is among us.
Wow. Alright, that'll be my sound cue to put in the Among Us as imposters, or the beginning rounds.
Yeah, there we go.
theme.
Editron, put on the Amogus sound effect.
So we finally get the answer of like, wait, how could Gato? This whole time we've been pondering, how could Gato be alive if at the end of Jujutsu Kaisen 0 he had his he was slain by, got beat up by Yuta and then killed by Gojo presumably. So what gives? It turns out those stitches and staples on his forehead aren't just for show. They are to keep the top of his head attached, because inside him is a little brain demon.
Yeah, he got brainworms. That's the twist.
Yeah, he keeps saying super duper pooper scooper and ubiquitously and obsessively and I'm keeping a buck with you, chief.
He keeps on saying Black Panther. Oh no. But yeah. Man, he must really like this Black Panther thing, considering how much he says it.
I mean, they're both good movies. So with that revealed, Gojo is just distracted enough to get ensnared in the prison realm, and we don't know exactly how long he's gonna be in there for. The guy says could be 100 to 1,000 years even. But he's already also mentions that Gojo, like the prison realm, hasn't even processed the being that is Satoru Gojo completely yet. So
Yeah, it's
maybe
currently in the process
be really
of
fucking
doing
lame
that.
if he breaks out of it by himself. But I feel like they're not gonna go that far in stroking Gojo's dick.
That's too hack of writing, right?
No,
That's
I feel
just
like the
throwing
characters are
away.
gonna bust him out.
That would just Yeah, if that were to happen, that would be the worst possible twist ever. I would puke spontaneously upon seeing it. So how do you feel about the Geto Suguru not being Geto twist? Because I am of two minds about it.
I see what you did there.
I didn't even realize it.
On one hand, like, I guess it's fine, but on the other hand, well, okay, I guess because of the staple thing, I can't say that they didn't allude to it in any way, shape, or form. But I don't feel like they've. Well, it's so hard to like even like be able to criticize this because like I want to, but then it's like, oh, but because they presented the events out of order between season 1, 0, and the past arc. So now it's like, okay, so we got his introduction before his we got his introduction before his backstory, and we got his defeat before his backstory, and then we got his backstory.
To be fair, I always thought it was and this is perhaps the best bit of foreshadowing you could say. I always thought it was weird that Geto would be so on board with being allied with the curses, because we know he hates humans, but part of that reason is because humans create curses through their cursed energy, and he's just like, well, no humans, no curses. Ayo, slam dunk. 100 out of 100. We got him. And so, like, it was never implied. It was never implied. Okay, what I always thought would be the case is that we'd get more backstory of how he actually likes curses now, bro. But I didn't think it was ever implied that he was like, oh, I hate humans, that
he had a brain demon and it was actually a different person altogether.
Well, yeah, that wasn't implied either. But I never thought it was implied that he, because he hates humans, he would suddenly just suddenly love curses, rather. I always thought, well, there needs to be some sort of turning point, right? Because he didn't like them before, and there was no specific point where he suddenly liked them. But as it turns out, he never really liked them all that much.
Yeah, he's just kind of an asshole.
But see, the reason why I'm of two minds about it isn't necessarily the foreshadowing per se, but rather, I kind of liked Geto as a character, and I liked having him as a villain, and now he just isn't. Now he's...
Yeah, it kind of takes the wind out of your sails.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, hey, because, like, we got, especially after we just got fed his entire motivation for being the hilarious racist that he is in Zero, earlier this season, and now to have the rug pulled out from under us and saying, haha, you retards, it wasn't even Geto this whole time, it's been, an imposter. And it's like, well, that's kind of a bit lame, isn't it?
I mean, I like Geto, yeah, he's just a racist little fuck. I wanna see him call everyone monkeys again.
Yeah, that was the best part about him in Zero, and now that aspect of his character is gone.
Lesson learned: if you want to make good characters, just make them racist. The problem with this new villain is that he isn't racist like before.
Listen, I'm just saying there's a reason why Magneto is one of the most popular Marvel villains.
Listen, it's not a real story unless you have a little bit of racism. That's all I'm saying. But, yeah, like, the moment itself is kind of cool. Because it's like, oh, well, what the hell? That's such an out there twist. It's more so once the episode is over and you think about it and you're like, well, actually, there are aspects of it that are kind of lame.
There's a lot of moments in this show where it's like, oh, it's cool in the moment, but then you sit during the credits and you think, or even when the episode's over and you think about it for a few minutes and you're like, this isn't as cool as like they first presented it to be.
Yeah, this show is definitely very presentation cool, but then you think about it more, and you know, some of the narrative issues do start to catch up with you, which is
I hate to be that asshole who uses style over substance, but low key, that's kind of been this block's theme, or it's like its motto.
yeah. See, here's the thing, because actually, I know I said that I didn't really know where this block stood in terms of the overall show, and I do still stand by that somewhat, because there are some really, you know, cool moments, and I do think it's doing something very interesting. But I do have to say, I feel like this block started off, you know, in the first podcast for this block, I was like, oh, this could have been a 9, but there was like some missed potential. I really feel like this block was at its strongest in terms of what it could have been during its first 4 episodes, and that after that, you know, it becomes a little more sloppy and a little more where it's like for each narrative decision it makes, there's a bit of give and a bit of take, and it's like you want more give than it's giving.
Yeah, like a good example of this would be the Yuji versus Choso fight, where, you know, it looks really cool. It's one of the best fights, both, you know, choreography wise and animation wise, in the whole series. My only issue is that I don't give a fuck about Choso as a character.
I mean, I feel that way about all of the new villains here. Actually, I think Choso is probably...
Is Choso not the only... Okay, well, I guess fake Gato is... you know, his introduction makes him new, and I guess there's also Dagon, because he was just like a weird baby man. But no, Choso is straight up the...
Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, well, we even though we see him at the end of season 1, where he's like, oh shit, my brothers are dead. Choso, for all intents and purposes, is a new character.
Yeah. Although, in that regard, let's see, there's 2 other villains. Or rather, 3. There's like this old lady, this old dude, and some other dude who turns into Toji. You know, I cared about them less as characters than Choso. At least Choso had something, although I do wish, you know, and there is the one scene of the villains scheming together and being like, all right, so if I meet Yuji, I'm gonna kill him, and if you meet Yuji, you're gonna try and keep him alive. But if I meet Yuji, I'm gonna kill him too. And I thought that was pretty fun, you know, just seeing the villains scheming together. But would I call it necessarily super characterizing for Choso? It's more of a stakes setter. More of a, if you see Choso, he's gonna try and get you sort of thing. Where it's like, okay, I now understand what the ramifications are for meeting certain characters in this train station.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, it is true that Choso isn't necessarily... It is probably one of the best episodes of the block, just because of how much... Like, there's some really cool stuff there. But I also think it's probably the best presented episode of the block. I think it has the...
Definitely.
Like, best directing, a great red and blue color scheme throughout the entire fight. It's just a persistent thing, and it looks really neat. Like the use of CG
fight in the bathroom, along with the pouring water, making it look like it's raining indoors, is a cool setting.
Yeah, the tactics are cool. The CG backgrounds reminded me of Kizu Monogatari, and that's only a good thing when it comes to the use of CG in anime. You know, if you're getting compared to Kizu, you're doing something right with the compositing.
Yeah, my only gripe with that whole episode was damn, this is awesome. If only I gave a shit about one of these characters.
Yeah, I feel like it will pick up more once we get the inevitable. They even tease it in the OP. Okay. Todo and Yuji fighting Mahito together. It probably... I don't know if it'll necessarily be Todo and Yuji fighting him per se. It might just be an OP tease, but we've got to fight him at some point.
Yeah, I also want to quickly correct my wording. I should have said if only I cared about both of these characters as opposed to one, because Chozo's character up until the very end of the fight is just I will avenge my brothers and kill Yuji Itadori. That is his character, and it is not very compelling.
I mean, see, I do remember at the end of season 1, I was thinking to myself, oh wow, I can't wait to see this Chozo dude. I mean, he now has a stake in this. He's gonna get revenge on Yuji and Obara. But it's like, nah, he
Yeah, but
like
he only ends up
he
eating
didn't
one
get
of them.
yeah, and he doesn't get as much characterization as I thought he would beforehand. So it's kinda eh.
I
I do
mean,
like
as
his
far as
design at
order
the
of
very
events in the
least.
narrative goes, he might as well have gotten his revenge the next day.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of build up to it.
Yeah, that's why it felt kind of deflating because they get that's what the show is missing. It's putting all of these flashy, cool concepts and powers and fight scenes in front of our faces, but it's not giving us the ample time to build up the people behind these cool powers and techniques and fight scenes.
You know, it feels weird to say this about an arc that's surely going to take the majority of the season. But maybe it should have been a little longer, or maybe build up to it a bit more.
It's just I think the problem isn't the length. I think just need to prioritize more build up.
Uh, yeah, there's probably some ways you could cut certain scenes, rearrange things so that Chozo ends up being super intimidating and cool. I mean, I guess he is intimidating because of his power, which is, by the way, super, super goddamn awesome. Where he shoots blood, kind of like it's blood related, like the powers of the other two curse humans. But with this one, he's basically increasing
The
the
high
pressure,
pressure
then
hose.
shooting it out. Yeah, but this specific detail from the narrator was what made it so threatening. She specifically
The fucking
says,
narrator.
"Speed." I know you hate narration, but but she specifically this is a really good use of it. I think you're going to agree with me. She specifically says speed of sound, which is just unimaginably fast. And so to know that that's being fired directly at Yuji and like immediately makes the stakes more intense. You got to agree with me on that one. Come on, you got to give a little.
I will, but I want to do a little experiment real quick. I want to ask you something. What purpose do you think this narrator, or not purpose? What benefit do you think this narrator is adding to the show by explaining all of these powers and concepts to us instead of having one of the characters either figure it out for themselves or the other character just flat out telling the other person their ability?
I won't lie. I do kind of have to agree with you there. It's another give and take thing. Because on the one hand, actually, I'm gonna go out and say this. In any shonen except Jujutsu Kaisen, this probably would have been more acceptable. However, Jujutsu Kaisen set up a mechanic where
I was literally about
explaining
to
your
say,
powers,
makes
explaining
it
your
stronger.
yeah,
And
so,
they have a narrator who
said,
completely undoes that entire mechanic, which was just like a meta thing to be like, hey, here's an in-universe reason why our shonen characters are doing the shonen trope of explaining their powers.
That I thought
but-
that was, as someone who thought that was so genius in season 1, it's more than a little eyebrow raising. It's more than a little
I feel insulted now. I feel like, hey, not only are we going to completely establish this mechanic, now we're going to ignore it entirely for a disembodied narrator voice who's going to tell you, audience, about this power, because not only are you not smart enough to just figure it out for yourself, but also we also don't value your intelligence enough to even have one of our characters explain or figure it out for themselves.
I mean, see, the explanation themselves,
worst part of the season.
The explanations, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's the worst part of the season. I think the explanation themselves are fine. It's the issue of the characters should have been saying this and figuring it out. Like, okay, think about the
Exactly.
power of the the old dude who eventually loses an arm. His power, by the way, is amazing. I love it. He defines
it's
his
like a weird
movements-
version of King Crimson, but also making you freeze other people in time.
It's literally his
But
power
framed around
is
the concept
becoming
of
an anime
animation.
character. Yeah,
is becoming an
He-
animator.
So he can define his movement in his head along 24 frames, but they have to be reasonably realistic, which gives him a little leeway to presumably exaggerate his movements, make himself go faster. It's stated that he's the fastest character except for Gojo, because Gojo's an asterisk to everything. And so aside from him, he's the fastest. And he does that through his frame power, which immediately puts into your... And I like that the explanation, like, spares a lot. It could have been a lot more in-depth, but you get the point
Wouldn't
immediately.
it have been better if the guy was saying it? Especially when we already established his little character trait of him being anal about new technology, fucking with animation techniques, being like, hey, Dagon, what do you know about animation? Do you know how many frames of animation are used in 1 second?
See, I loved that bit of dialogue because it immediately characterized him. And
yeah, all
actually,
these modern
I
TVs
literally...
having upscaling to 4K and 60 FPS frame interpolation on by default. What the fuck? I never said that. I never asked for that.
And see, while you were explaining that, I actually came up with the better version in my head, where they realize that they're not getting... None of their attacks are really working against him. So he's like, okay, ayo, here's my power. Anyway, I do twice as much damage now.
And
Like,
now I can...
That would have been cool.
I can animate on 2s instead of on 1s now.
And then...
It writes
you know,
itself,
after...
but they lean on shit and... what's the word I'm thinking of? Conventions.
Yeah, it's like... This just isn't the show for it, I feel like. You know, I can imagine other shows where it would be much more tolerable. Because, you know, in other shows, it would be something to not break suspension of disbelief. It would be like, oh, the characters aren't going to explain it because there's no tactical reason. And so you have a narrator do it. Or maybe even have them monologue
like it works
to
in
the
JoJo
audience.
because JoJo will pull out like a bunch of like weird out there concepts, some of them which are just flat out made up. that Hirohiko Araki was like, my source is that I made it the fuck up.
Yeah, but it's just not really working here.
Yeah. Trying to think. Let's see. Have we already gone in on the whole like the sorcerers are moving in on the curses now?
We haven't mentioned that before, but sure, the sorcerers are moving in on the curses now.
Yeah, they got a free Gojo, and viewers, you can help free Gojo too. Every time you like and subscribe, the seal on Gojo's Prison Realm breaks just a little bit more. So if everyone goes down to the comments and types in hashtag free Gojo, you can help save the day, viewer. And all you gotta do is benefit our bottom line.
Listen, it's that easy, guys. Come on, help a brother out. He's being sealed. You know what you gotta do. First to free him marries him. There we go. Top prize.
Oh my god, you sent like thousands of fake pretend girls who are definitely not watching this podcast, furiously typing at their keyboards now. Listen, they are doing the 0.2 domain expansion, Gojo running around, but they're doing it with their keyboards.
Listen, if women watched our podcast, it would be a very effective marketing tactic.
Literally never, by the way. that shit's gonna be 90% male, plus 90% male to the day we die.
Hey, maybe we can catch some of the buy-in gay men.
Man, well,
why did you sigh after that? Why did you groan?
I was gonna say, well, I don't have a problem with them as a whole. I'm just saying, as long as you don't get the weird ones. And I know you know what I mean.
I mean, sure, they populate my server, but
Yeah, like that.
They're not-
the minis and Joshes of the world. Hi, Minnie. and
now
Josh,
I
if
need
you're
to now we
watching
need to send them to this podcast with this timestamp.
to this timestamp. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Things that are not directly Gojo related. Yuji battles a grasshopper that's really poorly directed.
Poorly directed how? Because I did not necessarily get that impression.
Well, outside of the constant use of blurry frames to hide the fight.
The blurry
that whole-
frames. I'm actually going to correct you there a little bit. That's broadcast restrictions. That is not an intentional
Well, yeah,
choice.
I know that. I won't put the whole onus on the show for that.
It is a little insufferable while you're watching it, which is why I said Kaisen Warida in my server. But I do understand that it needed to be done. You know, Japan post Porygon incident, it does not take that lightly.
Yeah, but like there's a surprising lack of shot and placement continuity between subjects, between shots in that fight scene that I noticed. Because the thing about good directing is that good directing is when you like either don't notice it at all, or if you're like guys like you and I who are like into filmmaking and we'll see like a really cool shot and we'll be like, God damn, that was cool. But on the same coin, if you notice bad directing, you're like, ooh, wait, that's really bad and ugly actually. And I noticed a lot of that in the grasshopper fight.
I did not necessarily get that impression. In fact, there's one shot where the grasshopper man had his head like really close to the camera that I really like. You know, I like those sort of shots where there's one body part that's super close to the camera so that the rest of their body looks tiny by comparison. I just think it
You mean the
looks
part
very
where his
dynamic
abdomen
and cool.
shot out looking like a big bug boner?
Well, that too. And I did like that shot as well. But there's another shot I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's just a lot of Yuji being in one position but then being in another. Same with the grasshopper dude. Like there's no way I can like fully explain it to you without literally pulling it up and going through it frame by frame with you. But you know, if I feel like
where
if
it's
you
like
watch
he
it
changes
back,
position between shots is what you're talking about?
yeah, it's like not just that he's like changing poses because that's whatever, but it's what he's literally like changing his orientation, and not because he's using any kind of cool powers, because the camera is like not respecting any sort of continuity. I
So
swear,
basically like
I
warping
swear on
around the
everything.
scene.
Yeah, like they fail to establish a sense of place. I feel like because they're going all over, and I'm having trouble keeping track of where they are in space. I swear on everything. I'll have to run it through with you at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to. Here, I have the scene pulled up right now, but I feel like I'd have to watch it for a bit to really
Yeah,
see it. So
I'll-
it might
have
not be
to,
the
like-
time for that.
yeah. I'll show it to you after the podcast. So let's say I'm going through my notes right now. We already just did the Gojo thing. He sealed away. Yada yada yada. Oh yeah. Here's a thing. Crunchy, you came back into the show. Your character has returned.
I'm going to maul you to death, like Nanami mauled him to death.
Yeah. And by the way, quick thing. Fuck the show for having the femboy stab the supervisor guy through the chest multiple times, and he somehow didn't die.
That was established. That was a thing. I too had that question because it felt there's no reason to keep him around. You can totally
He's
expend
mad
him.
expendable. And
Bro,
he's been
just a
established in
gag.
season 1, so we can have him be, killed off as enough of a motivator to be like, I'm Kento Nanami, and I'ma get so mad, I'm
Come
gonna
on,
make every
he's
single
the
female watching
perfect
this show
expendable.
come.
Hey, at least Nanami is getting the respect he deserves on Twitter. So
Yeah, before he got burned alive.
yeah, we don't
Is he
talk
is he
about that.
dead?
You want to know the worst part? I don't know.
I
All logic dictates that he's dead. However, it's Jujutsu Kaisen. Therefore, unless you see, unless there's a character there to check their pulse and verify, actually no, checking pulse isn't enough. Their heart could start beating again on its own. Probably
the whole
just put a
it's
little,
like Dragon
little
Ball
cursed
rules.
energy.
The whole
into
body
it.
has to be disintegrated.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, their entire bodies were disintegrated, and the other two girls with the smartphone, granted they used some sort of power that's unspecified to survive it, but like, if they can survive it, then come on.
Yeah,
Uh,
because and he
there's
didn't just
also
light
no
up
reason to
Nanami
kill
too.
them off.
He like the
Yeah.
old guy because he just got established. Like maybe it's believable that he can die. And also that maybe Nanami killing him there might be a bit of like a big oh shit
Yeah,
moment. But
yeah.
Maki also got lit up, and ain't no fucking way Maki goes out like
So-
like such a bitch.
So this scene has been hyped up to me, in implicit terms, obviously, just saying, Crunchy's gonna hate what happens in this episode, because Nanami is, pretty much my favorite character, aside from, obviously, the goddess Miwa, but that she's transcended the mortal plane at this point.
Miwa's
But-
been like 100% not AFK, AWOL this whole
Yeah, she is
this whole
not,
block.
she's non-existent, but to be fair,
She's
Panda
too
has
useless
also
for
been...
this operation.
But yeah, like, I don't even necessarily mind Nanami going like this, because what they're going for here in this scene is clear. A holy shit, what the fuck moment, right? It's this, almost cynical sense of we can get rid of any life at any time. It really raises the stakes once you do something like that. The issue is there ain't no way they're getting rid of Maki. Like, if Maki was the only one to not get burned, then I'd be more willing to believe that the two people who did get burned did in fact die. But because Maki's there with them, the entire, everything is now thrown into question. Because if you kill Maki like that, that's just lame. But now that she's also supposedly dead, well, there's no way she is, so the other two might be alive too. And how were we supposed to know?
We did see the old man dude get lit up by flamethrowers from 4 directions before he... Well, actually, no, Jogo didn't do like the big finishing off blow on him, so he's probably still alive too, the bastard.
Yeah, it's like... on the one hand, in the moment, you're shocked. But it's one of those things where the more you think about it, once again, that's the trend for this arc. The more you think about it, the more you're like, they're not dead. Come on. It was just a little bit of fire. Jolene was literally immune to that in JoJo Stone Ocean. Like, come on, just walk it off. It's just a little scrape. Come on.
Yeah, but before we return to what happens immediately after that, we gotta get through the rest of these. Nanami asserting his Chad Sigma male dominance over this femboy sub-bitch.
Yeah, so admittedly, it's a really cool moment when Nanami... because, by the way, my dog is barking in the background. That's probably gonna appear in the podcast.
He's barking in recognition of the alpha.
Yeah, so they've been fighting for a while.
Women on Twitter were doing the same thing when that episode dropped.
I was witness to that. And yeah, they've been fighting for a while. I really love this moment where it's not the sort of thing you'd expect from this show, where characters do tend to fly all around the screen and do all sorts of unrealistic stuff. But Nobara gets kicked in the chin, and there's this X-ray cut to her brain, jiggling around in her skull.
She wasn't kicked. The sword flew at her and
Or
punched her so
yeah,
hard
okay, the sword
that she got
flew at
Mortal
her,
Kombat
yeah, you're right.
X-rayed.
And that's enough to leave her like on the ground, unable to move. And the only reason she's still alive is because it's that classic thing of, yes, which innocent should I kill first? I need to decide this because it matters somehow. Instead of killing both of them immediately, like would be the
Also,
rational
yeah,
thing to do.
this ultimately doesn't really matter at all. But like, did that one yellow-haired girl who got stabbed a bunch of times? Did she seem like very fine to you afterwards when Nanami saved them?
Now that you mention it, yeah, she was oddly fine.
She
Although,
was sitting and she wasn't very mobile, but she got stabbed like 4 times in the like from the ass down to the leg. So
I mean,
you don't just like sit that off.
At the same time, though, we've already seen in like what episode 5, Megumi get knocked through all sorts of things, thrown around by.
Yeah, but she's a
Sukuna.
supervisor. I thought she wasn't supposed to be like a like a strong sorcerer.
Yeah, but maybe it's just due to merit of probably having some Jujutsu sorcery. Maybe that's the logic we're going by. You know, I mean, she's still walking around in a dangerous place, so clearly she has some level of ability to, you know, do some epic curse moves.
I guess
maybe that's it. I mean, hey,
she sure didn't fucking use any.
Characters have stood from worse injuries before, so it's probably not the worst defense you can find in this show if you dig hard enough.
Yeah, so well that's all going on.
But yeah, I liked that happening to Nobara because you don't really expect the show to get that realistic with it. Granted, nothing about what's happening is realistic, but you just don't expect it. Is what I'm getting.
It was a very visceral knockout blow.
Yeah, and it gives the characters a sense of, I guess,
vulnerability.
Yeah, vulnerability. Like being really there in the fight and really being, you know, people facing these foes that can often be lost in the insane powers.
Yeah, it's a nice little reminder of, hey, you know, I can't say this for me personally because it never happened to me, but hey, you know, that's how you get knocked out in real life if your brain touches your skull. So, and there's the brain right there touching that Nobara skull.
Yeah, and then can't wait to see in season 3 where Nobara canonically has brain damage. Let's go.
she ends up becoming the vegetable.
Oh no.
She has to shoot her nails from her wheelchair.
No, she just loses like an IQ point from it.
Oh no, she already had an IQ of 10.
Now
she can't afford to lose
9.
any more brain cells. She had so little to start with.
But yeah, that's enough of that. So you wanted to transition onto another topic?
Let me just I'm going through the things real quick before we go on to the final topic. Gojo's birth fundamentally changed Jujutsu sorcery. Yeah, we kind of briefly touched on those 3 evil curse users with the grandma that turns one of the guys into Toji, but that doesn't really become a factor until the end of this block,
which is what we're presumably building to, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm just going through, making sure we don't miss nothing. Mei fights a smallpox virus. That's cool, I guess. Might have some kind of incestuous relationship with her little brother.
I mean, probably not. Come on, you see how young
Hopefully
he is.
not.
Listen, as the number one syscon in the anime community, I do not ship the two under no circumstances.
What aspect about that would be worse? The fact that they're siblings, or the fact that there's a very clear age gap, Or,
I'd say the age gap is the far more morally not questionable, very deeply immoral part of it.
or the even worse aspect, the fact that she makes birds kill themselves for her power.
To be fair, that's
TBH,
probably
worse than
one
the
of her.
insistent age gap. Peter's not gonna like this one.
I did at first like the idea that, okay, so she makes like she's gonna just straight up kill her brother. She's just like, sacrifice yourself for me. It's what you gotta do, and he's just okay with it. But as it turns out, yeah, as it's revealed, it's not quite that hardcore, which I was slightly disappointed by, because I thought that would be... that idea was both really funny to me and also really like, oh wow, she's like actually kind of evil. But no, what it is that he has the simple domain, I think it's called.
Yeah, he has simple domain.
Yeah, simple domain. I was just making sure I got the term right, which negates the domain effects, and so he can basically survive it, even though it looks like he's going to die. And so when she says sacrifice yourself, he's just gonna... It's basically him taking a hit for her, but using simple domain to make sure it doesn't actually do anything. Because, actually, another reason why I was mildly disappointed, because he's kind of fucking annoying. He's not that annoying, but he's not charming in the slightest, and I don't like him.
Yeah.
So seeing him die would... Yeah,
and his sister's probably getting some of that wee when this whole thing's over.
God, I hope not. But
yeah,
like seeing him die, I would not feel, moved by it, but it would have been interesting characterization from Meme.
Yeah, I suppose. So now we get into towards the end of this block. The boys are back. We've got some old villains back into the mix. First off, in the form, we already touched on Toji being brought back to life because the granny has this ability where she can turn one of her sons into the body of someone who died, and why they chose Toji specifically, I guess because he was so strong.
Yeah.
How they know anything about him like that? Don't think about it, bro. It's cool in the moment.
Yeah, so
don't ask what connection they have.
This is another one of those give and take sort of things, where, on the one hand, seeing Toji, right, erupt out of that little hole that Megumi is making for everyone to escape the domain in, is so cool and also so well directed when you see it. But then you realize, actually, he's just kind of mindless and not really back for good. And also, if he was back for good, that would raise a lot of questions about, like, oh, who else can we bring back to life? And so, on the one hand, it's good that he's not actually back, and he's just kind of mindless, and just attacking with Toji's powers, whatever is the strongest.
To be fair, they do establish a thing where it's like, normally the granny can only bring back the body while the soul remains intact. But in this case, because he has no cursed energy, and only has like, more body than soul, his body is, because with his heavenly pact, makes him strong enough to overcome any soul. So he was able to override the dude that, was using his body. So well, it's not like the real Toji.
Yeah.
It's just basically it's that's what's kind of lame about it. It's not like the Toji that we know from
it just
the
looks
beginning of the
like
season,
him.
bringing back from the dead. It's someone with Toji's personality, being like, "Ooh, I'm back. I guess I'll."
Well,
pick
it's
up
not
where I
even
left
really
off."
his personality, because he's just sort of just mindlessly going after whoever he thinks is the strongest.
I feel like the fact that he singles out Megumi is because they're father and son, is gonna play some kind of role. I hope that he gets some like cool dialogue and back and forth with his son and doesn't just fight him for the sake of fighting him.
Well, see, that just raises the other issue to me, which is that it's not actually Toji. Therefore, it is much lamer than... I mean, granted, they can't really bring Toji back, or else it'd be, but how? But at the same time, it's like, okay, but is it just a thing that looks like Toji? It's not actually him. And if it was still Toji's personality, and granted, it is said by the narrator that he'll, I don't know, like disintegrate or something after a certain point, like he'll run out of steam and not be able to stay for very long. But even still, like the explanation of why he's able to overtake the soul in the first place is sort of made up on the spot. And so if it was really him back, I would have to ask the question, well, what other explanations can you make up on the spot to bring characters back? Which does mean it's kind of good that it's not really him, but on the other hand, like I said, it's not really him. Therefore, it's actually a little lame.
Just a little lame. Well, I get that one is a wait and see on how that one's gonna turn out. But you know what isn't a wait and see? You know who has never failed to deliver even a single second he's been in this show whenever he shows up? My boy, Ryomen motherfucking Sukuna, best Jujutsu Kaisen character. I said it from season 1 and I'm saying it now.
Yeah, so this block of episodes, it did what you... Okay, so from the very beginning, Sukuna has been your favorite character by far. And you've been lamenting the fact that he has not appeared in these past few blocks. Whereas I've always been, hey, you could dare call me Sukuna hesitant. You could dare say that I'm not on the Sukuna train yet. Until now.
You're questioning your Sukunality.
Yeah, exactly.
Your Suktionality.
But you know what? After this block, maybe I would let him give me a little Suk.
Yeah, a big Suk.
A big Suk, even. Yeah, so he's just the most evil bastard.
He's a
what
ruthless
changed.
fucking bastard, and he's so unapologetically evil, and I love that.
It's not even unapologetic. He's smug about it. You can see him looking smug after he literally decapitates 2 high school aged girls, just mercilessly. And mind you, okay, so here's what really won me over, right? So what Jogo does is gives Yuji 10 It wasn't actually, by the way, Sukuna firing Chekhov's gun, surprisingly enough. Instead, what happened was Jogo gave him the 10 fingers, and Sukuna was naturally, brought out, whereas Yuji is unconscious because his body still has to catch up to that, right? And so he wakes up, and he's looking at the 2 high school girls and Jogo, and they all kneel before him. Well, first they cower in fear, and then he tells them to kneel. And so they do. The 2 high school girls prostrate themselves. However, Jogo only takes 1 knee. And so he literally fires whatever it is, that thing that just
he fires a blast at them that cuts, that basically scalps, or at least chops off the little volcano,
the volcano
on the top
on
of Jogo's head. And he's like, wow, you think you only need to bend 1 knee? You think you don't need to hang your head lower than that? That's I don't agree with that, mister.
Yeah, and so then, because the 2 high school girls, they prostrated themselves, right? So it's like, okay, what do you want, right? You wanted to revive me. You gave me one of the fingers.
It's not even just that. It's not even just that they prostrate themselves. Literally, the first thing he does after being revived is Jogo is about to point at them to hit him with another blast of fire, but then he realizes, hey, where did my arm go? Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah,
Sukuna's
that
got
moment.
it.
Yeah, the reveal to him is amazing.
Sukuna commands every single scene that he's in, and that's part of why I love him so much. But not even just that, after Jogo realizes, oh shit, Sukuna's back, he jumps backwards, and there's oh my god, it's a different level of presence than that of Satoru Gojo, Satoru Gojo is the strongest, but all of these curses are still gonna try to run his fade because what else are they gonna do? But like, cause Gojo, he'll kill you, but he'll like he won't take a lot of pleasure in it, at least to the point of sadism. Like he maybe if because you're an evil cursed bastard, then he'll have a smile on his face while he's killing you. But at least he'll, as we saw with Hanami, he'll just explode you in one go. He won't do anything too cruel or unusual. Sukuna is so evil and so overwhelming that his mere presence is causing the human girls to be like, is breathing okay? Are we allowed to breathe before this guy? And that is it's so awesome how they write that in to be like, oh man, is like literally this thing that we need to do to live. Is that okay to do in this god's presence?
Yeah, so they're on their face to ground saying, listen, Sukuna, hear me out. We have a finger to offer you. Pretty please kill the dude inhabiting Geto's body, because they're all Daisuki for Geto. However, Sukuna is like, raise your heads. They both do. He decapitates one, and watches as the other
not just decapitates, explodes the head.
Yeah. And then it's not even from the wait, no, I think this one was from the neck, but I think it's the other girl that he decapitates first, like halfway through the head, like he did.
Yeah,
with,
Yuji
way later.
Horizontally across the eyes, and then turns her entire body into cubes.
Yeah. Her entire body undergoes the cubism treatment. It's not fun. But yeah, he's just merciless, and he's literally like, yo, you thought you could order me around? Me? Excuse me? Know your place. But JoJo...
Yeah, even when it would probably benefit him to take him up on the deal to be like, oh, okay, you know the location of a finger and I don't. That would be useful information. Unfortunately, you made the mistake of thinking you had any right ordering me around, so now you have to die for this. I will straight up put myself at a disadvantage, or in a situation that does not favor me, if it means I get to establish and assert my dominance. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, but Jogo, he survives by not asking for anything, first of all. That is the only that's the only way to survive, right? But then Sukuna's like, ayo, right? I'm gonna be subservient to you. However, you need to land a hit on me. There ain't no way Jogo's landing that hit, let me tell you.
No.
He is beyond
I think I don't know if Jogo's gonna make it to the end of
I feel like
next
his
episode.
Days, perhaps even minutes, are numbered.
Yeah. This man will not see the sunrise.
Yeah, so we've talked about Sukuna. Oh yeah, the scene that made me completely hate him. In a good way. You'll love to hate him, is how I'd put it. Is when he decapitates the high school girls and is literally smug about it. Like, he has a smirk on his face as he's looking down on them. Not them.
It's been
one
so
of them has
long
already died.
since we've had a good a villain, like a good old villain in shonen anime. Cause and I know people are gonna flood the comments if they choose to do so. Please comment. I invite you to tell me at least this close to a show. Last time we got a villain this hateable but not one dimensional, because we know Sukuna's deal.
Yeah, we know why he acts the way he acts. He's extremely cocky and extremely smug, and knows that he's the most powerful thing in the room unless Gojo is there, which in this case Gojo isn't. And even then, Gojo v Sukuna is a toss-up. Gojo thinks he'll win, but he doesn't know.
Yeah, but the first time he fought him was only for a few seconds when he had just the power of one finger. Now, this motherfucker Sukuna's got 15. he is 75. He's at 75% strength. How well does Gojo fare in the matchup now?
Probably not well, if I had to guess. Like, not gonna lie, I think if I had to spitball here, Sukuna's probably more powerful than Gojo. Like, there ain't no way that they're gonna set up the ultimate villain and make him weaker than Gojo. Come on.
Yeah, he's got to be the strongest, and they have to set the final battle of this whole thing has to come down to Yuji versus Sukuna, because that's the why else would you go out of your way to set up that? Why else would you go out of your way to set up the whole premise of the show to being about the main character and the main villain possessing the same body?
Yeah, so Yuji becomes the new Gojo and then beats Sukuna. There we go. We figured out how Jujutsu Kaisen ends.
I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Just take someone with some base ass media literacy.
What are you talking about? It took me 3 years of thinking about it to come to this conclusion. How could you? No, I'm sure I'm well ahead of the pack of everyone else.
I've had my fist up to my chin in the thinker pose, pondering ever since the premiere of the show in 2020.
Yeah, it's just been on my mind constantly since even the manga began, and only now I've realized. But yeah, other than that, the only thing we haven't talked...
I'm salivating at the thought of getting more Sukuna moments in the final block of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we get to watch him presumably kill Jogo, so there's that.
Yeah, like and now that the motherfucker's on the loose, what does that mean for literally everyone else? Because he's also said that, you know what? I think I'm gonna kill everyone in Shibuya except for one person who I can only presume it's Megumi because he already has that established interest in him.
Either that or a random bystander that he just wants to watch the horror and be traumatized for the rest of their days. I like that answer,
Maybe he's
but
like
it's probably Megumi.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that one Thanos comic where every so often he just comes by to Earth to fuck with this one person in particular. Doesn't not even to kill him or anything or to like physically torture him, but he'll like kill his parents, get him fired from his job, make him break up with his girlfriend, like all this bad shit that happens to him just to fuck with this one guy in particular because he feels like it.
Hey, if you had god powers, don't tell me you wouldn't do the same thing because it's funny. Silence.
And with that, I think we are brought to the end of this block of episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't talk much about the Cthulhu fight, but I don't think there's much important there. Other than, I did really want to get this out of the way. The colors and the scenery, once they get sucked up into the domain. Lovely, I love the aesthetic of it.
They got
yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
I mean, fun fact that's the place where Castaway anime takes place.
Yeah, canonically. We were there. We watched that fight go down in real time.
Yeah, you couldn't see us because we're like, it's like that one episode of Dragon Maid where Toru was in the background the whole time, but you didn't notice it until she pointed it out to you. We're off in the distance.
Yeah, I mean, in the final cut, it's barely anything at all, but, eagle-eyed viewers might be able to notice it.
Yeah, when did you get your residuals, by the way, for our likenesses being used in the episode? I'm still waiting on mine. I thought it would come through by now.
I've emailed them like 5 times about it. They still haven't gotten back to me. I've been doing this ever since the manga days.
At MAPPA better not have ghosted us.
Bro, I mean, ever since the manga panel first came out, I've been trying to, hit them up. For some reason, they blocked my number. I don't know why.
Should we sue? I think we should sue. Well, viewers, if you want to help us in our legal battle,
hold on, we need to do final thoughts first.
Yeah, final thoughts. All right, yeah, hold on to your purse strings for a second, viewers. So how we feeling? 2/3 into Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 now. Are our thoughts more positive or slightly more negative since the end of block 1?
Well, when I saw the first third of this season, I was like, it was so close to a 9, but just shy of it, and thought it could maybe build that up over the next arc. It's definitely not a 9, for sure. It's more like an 8, and at this point, there's little hope of it escaping that number. I don't think it will be any higher or any lower than an 8.
I'm kind of thinking the same thing. I don't see it going any lower than like, yeah, well, maybe a 7/10. It's still overall been good. Uh, I will
mean, I feel like
say
you'd have to mess up,
we-
either mess up in a big way or take some of the existing plot points in the stupid direction that we have been speculating about. If it did that, maybe it could go down to a 7. But I mean, it's had some pretty cool moments overall. So I feel like
the
it's gonna
stakes
be
are
around an
certainly
8.
the highest they've ever been.
Yeah, for sure.
I just feel like maybe a bit more fleshing out of our antagonists to make these conflicts matter a little more, because like, yeah, I fear for the safety of the character of our protagonist, but not because of, what these not because of like the villains ideations and goals, but it's more like, oh no, I hope my favorite character does not fucking die. I sure hope my, this awesome character from season 1 who had this, like, who has multiple Chad moments, especially in this one where he flooded the panties of 1,000 screaming anime girl fans, does not get lit on fire and turned into a barbecue man.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, no, hopefully Maki at the very least is still alive, but they're probably all
There's no
either.
shot Maki fucking died there.
No way. If she
I
did,
I will
that's
give the show a 7 if Maki goes out like that.
well. See,
That is
either
unacceptable
way,
for
I
best
mean, I
girl.
was saying that that either way the show took it, it would be not spectacular. Uh, yeah, it's like, see, there's a part of me that almost wants them to keep Maki dead, just because at least it'd then be the more ballsy decision, but neither outcome is ideal. Mostly due to the way the scene has been set up. But yeah, like,
Yeah,
stuff like that could drag it down.
I'm getting a little bit of flashbacks to first half of season 1 where they're showing us a lot of cool things but not giving us a lot of not enough characterization to make it feel more impactful in the long term than it does in the short term, because that's where the second half of season 2 and especially the first half of season well did I say that right? I've so hard to fucking keep this in track. Second half of season 1 and first bit of season 2, that's what made that so special, because it was a nice blend of characterization and cool moments.
Yeah, I mean, even I had my issues with the first half of season 2. Yeah, after the podcast, I feel like the second half of season 1 is still probably, at least in terms of narrative, the strongest. In terms of being a coherent narrative, it is probably the best. No, season 2, part
Yeah,
1, not part 1, but like the first third, I think hits higher highs, but I feel like latter half of season 1 is overall the most consistent the show has ever been.
yeah. I'm still of the opinion that the show probably would have benefited greatly from making Gojo's past arc the movie and making Jujutsu Kaisen 0 the beginning of season 2. But I guess it is what it is, and it be what it be.
Yeah, I don't know. We were more negative in this podcast than I expected, but to be fair, we're probably going to be the only people negative about Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 right
And the
now.
damnedest thing is, we're still overall positive on it. We just
Yeah, we're still extremely
spent
positive.
less time talking about the good stuff because we don't want to like repeat ourselves. Like, oh, what's this? The fight animation in a MAPPA show was pretty damn good. How many times can we beat that drum? Unless it like does something really particularly cool.
Yeah, like, I mean, hey, to piss Neon off, it's better than Dress Up Darling. So you, there was no reason to do that. I
How
just
dare.
wanted to annoy you.
How dare. I think season 1 of Dress Up Darling is still better than the collective whole of Jujutsu Kaisen. So far.
You
at
have
least.
Marin Kitagawa on your favorite characters lists. I no longer take any of your opinions seriously.
Wait, no, okay, hold on. If you're looking at my Mal account, that's just my wives.
Oh, that's just your wives?
Yeah.
Why
Why do you think
the
they're all
actual
female?
best characters? Well, I did notice.
I would
that,
actually have to like.
but-
I would have to like actually think about that.
and it seems thinking is not something you want to do. God, I was about to
Not
say-
on Mal.
Not on Mal. You know what? Critical Thought goes to die on Mal. So, you're only being as unintelligent as everyone else there. I know I'm being a dick right now, but
And
it's
if
funny.
you- Yeah, well, if you want to increase your critical thinking skills and also help us with our legal battle against Studio MAPPA for gypping us of our goddamn royalties, then make sure you head on down to the comments and let us know what you think of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 so far. What do you like? What do you hate? Are we fucking wrong or are we right on the money? Are you excited for the final third of Season 2 that we won't be covering until like 2024? Let us know! And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode of the podcast while you're down there.
Yep, and with that,
And that'll do her for this episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta,
and I'm Crunchy Bagels.
and you'll see us next time.